we have to talk about what went down backstage at All In before the show even started. Yes, CM Punk, Phil, got into an altercation with Jack Perry, Jungle Boy. Can you believe it? Luke Perry's son, Jack Perry, did this at All In. There are like 20 different accounts of what happened between Punk and Jungle Boy. So I'm not even going to get into the weeds of who exactly did what, who said what, who shoved who like whatever. But Jack Perry, we saw on the All In show that he made the comment, the Crimea River comment about the glass. You know, he did something and CM Punk reacted. So I gotta say first, what the heck was Jack Perry thinking, trying in any way to antagonize Punk or get a reaction out of CM Punk? And I'm gonna later in this podcast get into Tony Khan's handling of his talent. But to think that Jack Perry thought this was a good idea is beyond me, okay? If he was mad about the reports that came out over the glass thing, over him thinking he should be able to use real glass, he needed to keep that to himself. It is wild to think that the highest paid star in the company, the highest paid guy, is having these young wrestlers way lower down the card than them, thinking that that's okay to just antagonize them, like being that empowered. It's wild. And as for how Punk reacted, he probably overreacted. He probably shouldn't have reacted that way, but I will speak from my personal experience on this as someone who does see a little bit of themselves in Phil Brooks. Some of us just can't let stuff go. I think there's a lot of people that read the CM Punk stuff, heard that he, talked back or physically reacted to Jack Perry and are just like, why could this man in his 40s not just let it go? And I thought that too. But some of us really can't. And I myself am not someone that's able to just let things go. A couple of days before this incident, I had an incident in my own life where there's someone that has really upset. To say that they've upset me is a massive understatement, but they have really negatively impacted my life in a very harmful way. Let me put it that way. And a couple of days ago, it was really getting to me for some reason. There were things that were happening that was like stirring up these emotions, and I was so angry. And my friends are saying to me, like, let it go, be the bigger man, don't show anyone you're upset, let it go, it's not worth it, all that stuff. And I'm just not someone that can do that. Unfortunately, I think my life would be a lot easier if I could let things go. And I think that Punk's life would be a lot easier if he let things go too, but I couldn't. And I ended up sending this person a message saying how angry I was at them, how much they had harmed me. And I think some people wouldn't understand why I would do that. But to me, there's more of a like catharsis in like letting those emotions out to someone rather than like just letting it go and like accepting things. I'm kind of more like, no, I'm really, really angry at you and you deserve it, and I'm going to react. And I think that's how Punk acts a lot of the times. Punk doesn't let things go. We can see that with his relationship with Colt Cabana. And even when he chewed out the Elite at Brawl Out, I mean, I can see why he did it. I don't want to agree with it or come out there and say I support it, but have I done something similar before? Yes, but of course not on anywhere near a grand scale, but on the smaller scale that I can, like, yes. And this isn't what I would, isn't even a defense of CM Punk. It's more just giving an explanation of someone that, understands him. And I would also say, because every time Punk does something, there's so much negative talk about Punk, and I do not know Punk personally. I've never had the honor of spending any time with Phil Brooks. I only interviewed him once, and it was about a movie he was in, and it was before he came back to AEW, and it was just audio. So I don't know Punk. But I do know, from what I have heard about Punk from people that do know him, to me, he seems like a man who stands up for the right things and has the right principles. And in this world, and the world I'm talking about is not just the world of wrestling, but of AEW, and in that locker room, I think that's very important, to have a man that is standing up for the right things and maybe sees some things and some people for how they really are. And that is not me taking a dig or shot at the Elite at all, because I have no problem with the Elite whatsoever. I really don't. Nothing that has happened with Punk has ever made me anti-Elite. Like Kenny Omega, one of my top 5 favorite wrestlers of all time. Young Bucks, one of the top 2 tag teams in the world. And I don't think that Kenny Omega or the Young Bucks are bad people at all. And I don't think Hangman Page is. I think that they got into a situation with Punk, and they pissed him off. But I don't really think that's a reflection on their character. But I think that Punk sees a lot of stuff, and is on the right side of a lot of stuff. And he sticks up for the right people that need sticking up for. And there's certain stuff I've heard about him not getting along with other people, stuff that isn't out there, people we're not thinking about. And his reasoning for it is something I completely understand. And it makes me see him as a good person. And I think it's part that and part kind of understanding him. There's probably nothing that will ever put me off CM Punk. But there's also reports that he chewed out Tony Khan backstage. So what are we going to do about that? I would love to know what he said. This whole incident, by the way, between him and Jack Perry was captured on CCTV. If the footage of Solange going after Jay-Z can be made public, do we all remember that was a pop culture moment? If that is public and it happened in an elevator, why do we not have the Punk Jack Perry footage? Somebody in Wembley release that, leak that footage, please. Leak that footage. I'm asking you. I would pay anything to see that. And I'd pay anything to know exactly what Punk said to Tony. It'd be very interesting to know what an angry CM Punk would say to Tony Khan, what certain things he would bring up about what's going on in AEW. I'd be very interested to know that. As of recording, no idea if CM Punk's going to be on All Out. No idea. Tony Khan was asked about it in the media call. This whole thing is still under investigation, despite it being on video and taking place in front of Tony Khan. We've not been told how long Punk is suspended for. So you gotta look at the lack of transparency that Tony is showing here. Okay, people in Chicago have bought tickets for All Out. I was very close to traveling to Chicago for All Out. I ended up canceling my flights the week before all this. I would have been pissed. to not get CM Punk on the show, but people have paid money and he is on advertisements. So Tony needs to be transparent. And he should have been transparent days before this. But I think ever since Brawl Out, Tony's relationship with the media has been very different because I think he got into the business, he got into the wrestling business very naively thinking that he could be like the open promoter, the guy that could say, I'm 10 times better than Triple H or Vince McMahon when it comes to being open and transparent. And then shit hit the fan and he realized that it's maybe very difficult to be the open, transparent leader of a company. As for the consequences that they should face, I don't know. I think a short suspension. Okay, we'll do that. We'll get Punk on the show in Chicago. If Jack Perry started it, I would suspend him for longer. But there has to be some kind of consequences coming out of this because there never seems to be any consequences in AEW. And I think that's why these things keep on happening. But AEW does need CM Punk. They need him for the reasons that I spoke about earlier, with how he is in the locker room, the good points about him. And they need him for Collision. They need him to make money. He's their top merch seller this month. There are a lot of people that want to discredit CM Punk's value to the business as a money draw, and they are fools. CM Punk brings in ratings, he brings in revenue, and they need him. And I don't know, to me, what this company would look like without Punk. Because when this company started, CM Punk was not a part of it. And until the day that CM Punk arrived in AEW, you had that glimmer of hope that he would arrive in AEW. Once he leaves, that's dead. And you're looking at a totally different company. But I honestly don't think that Punk is happy. I don't think he's happy in AEW. And I can completely understand why. And that's very sad, but I can understand why. I watched his Cauliflower Alley Club speech. I thought it was 10 out of 10. Amazing. He's a great orator. He really is one of the best talkers of all time. So interesting that he didn't really mention AEW. This guy had just performed at Wembley Stadium in front of over 80,000 fans, bigger than anything that anyone in that room has ever done. And he didn't mention it. He mentioned Triple H. He name-checked Triple H. I thought it was very funny to hear the guys from WWE that he name-checked, especially guys that are still around or guys he would still be working with. I mean, let's be honest here. No name check for Chris Jericho. Applause. But we got name checks for Triple H multiple times. And I thought that was interesting. And I'm not sure if other people from AEW, if they were getting that honor, would not talk about what they're doing now in AEW. But like everything that's happened before, this is a mess. And not only is it a mess, it once again is something that they could have seen coming if they just sorted issues out.